fast-breaking developments in the coronavirus emergency in the U.S.
And now to the latest
and around
on the
world.
coronavirus. The United States is
With the
reporting
nation's airlines fighting for their survival, new rules to keep both crew members and passengers safe. As of today, passengers on JetBlue, Delta, and United New York must join crew members in wearing masks from the moment they check in.
And if the airline industry is one of the major forces of the economy. If the airline industry tanks, the economy is going to tank, because you got to think of what we do. We move people from point A to point B for meetings. We move cargo from point A to point B for whatever the case may be. So airline industry is a huge, huge part of the economy. I don't know. I became interested in flying when I was 12 years old. I flew on a trip with my father to Dallas, and on the way back, my seat was on the wing, and I was upset because I couldn't see out the window. All I could see was the big wing. So I told my father at that time I was going to sit up front one day, and I just became interested at that point. I thought it was a cool thing. My name is Scott Gerthy, and I've been an airline pilot for almost 22 years.
My dad worked for Delta growing up, so I grew up in Peachtree City, which is also a Delta kind of community. But he worked at Delta when I was growing up. He wasn't a pilot, but he worked there for, a little over 40 years, just retired last year. Started out in the ramp, worked his way up all the way to dispatch, where he retired from. But growing up around it, I always used to non-rev, which is travel, obviously, you know about that, to different destinations, and always just loved it. So I went to college. Initially, I just wanted to work for the airlines, specifically Delta, and I was going to go for computer science. And when I got into the coursework, I realized that wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. So I said, I want to be a pilot. So I switched directions completely and followed my dreams. I just didn't think it was ever going to be possible. And then I went to flight school and did all that good stuff, and finally got hired at the airlines. So my name is Joseph Cook, and I've been a pilot for 15 years in the airlines, and I work for Delta Airlines.
The airlines before COVID were great. Everybody was running just about full capacity. Airlines were growing. They were adding flights, adding planes, adding routes, hiring all kinds of people, pilots, mechanics, flight attendants, support staff, everything. But once COVID came, all that came to a stop. I know for us at Southwest Airlines, and probably other airlines, but for sure Southwest, we parked a bunch of planes and actually got rid of some that had years and years of service that were going to the boneyard anyway. Eventually, they just went ahead and retired them early. We stopped growing, we stopped hiring. We actually had the threat of laying people off at the time.
So it first hit in February-ish, and then we flew for a while with the masks and all the policies had changed. And then in May, my plane retired early. So it changed my job dramatically, because whereas my plane was not supposed to be retired till the end of last year, they bumped that up to May. So that impacted at least 1,500 guys right off the bat. So in terms of my job, I have had to deal with the downtimes, the times where I haven't been flying, and possibly looking for other opportunities to work. It's stopped hiring from all the other carriers. Nobody's hiring, and they're starting to pick that up again now, but for about a year, it was all stagnated. Furloughs obviously have been impactful to a lot of people. Thankfully, I didn't get involved with that. We didn't furlough anybody at Delta. But it has affected a lot of people in the industry where they've had to go find alternative means to work. So it's impacted the pilot world big time.
So there's been a lot of job cuts throughout the aviation industry, airlines, all work groups in the airlines, even airport staff, people that work at restaurants, TSA, security people. Everybody has, in one way or other, felt the hurt of it and been cut either salary, laid off, or hours. Well, I won't go over them all, but the biggest policy that we had that came up was mask and cleanliness of the airplane. But we're required to mask at the beginning were optional for people. If you want to wear them, you could. But then it became mandatory that we all wore a mask in front of the public. So from the time we step into the terminal, go through security, all the way up into our pilot lounge and operations until we get on the plane. Anytime we're in one of those areas, we have to wear a mask. We're required to wear a mask.
I think the mask, if not helping you, it helps the people around you. So always trying to wear the mask whenever you can, even if somebody is susceptible to it more so than you or whatnot on the flight deck, even with the door closed, I think you can still wear it. It might be a discomfort or whatnot, but you kind of talk and communicate with one another there. Obviously, hand washing is huge. Everybody knows that by now. Our skin is coming off our hands because we're using so much antibacterial, but that's another tool that I use as well. And in fact, Delta also, that's another policy kind of leading into this as well to help protect you, is they provided us with extra bags of cleaning materials in the flight deck alone that's just for pilots to use. So we have gloves on those packages. We have special wipes we can wipe down every single switch that's safe for the cockpit as well. So you make sure that you utilize all that stuff is really helping everybody stay healthy up front. So wash hands, wear masks, utilize all the resources that they have, the Purell, whatever you can use, and social distance whenever you're, out and about. We're obviously flying together, which is hard to social distance, but if you go out and have dinner or whatnot, make sure you don't sit right next to each other or that kind of stuff. Fortunately, I think we've done pretty well on the pilot side, considering how close we work. I think it's because everybody's doing their part and helping out with all that kind of stuff.